Namaskar, this is Rick, and today we are going to start a new video series which I have named as Dharm. And this is episode 1 of the Dharm series, where we will discuss the way of life. In this video series, we are going to focus in the ancient religion of the Indian subcontinent, that is, the Sanatan religion, which has been later named as Hinduism. So our first video is on the way of life. Now before I start this video, I would like to apologize for the mistakes I will make while pronouncing the words, because all the terms which have been used here are mainly in Sanskrit language. When Sanskrit is translated to English, there will be very much mistakes, and so I apologize beforehand for those mistakes. So without doing any delay, let's get into details. So Hindu view of life, Varna and Ashrama. So what is Varna and what is Ashram? Sixfold dharma according to Yajnavalkya 1.1. I have included the sources as much as possible, so please bear with it. So dharma is categorized as, there are many categories of dharma, mainly 6 categories of dharma. And so varna dharma, example, Brahman should not drink wine. So these are the duties which are to be followed according to Varna. Then there is Ashrama Dharma. Ashrama Dharma means Brahmakarin should carry a staff. So these are the disciplines or the materialistic things you should always bear with yourself according to your dharma. Then there is Varnashrama Dharma, that is caste and stage specific rules. So there will be stages of human life, and according to those stages a person should follow some specific rules. Those are included in Varnashrama Dharma. Then there is Guna Dharma, means for example a crowned king should protect his subjects. So these are the roles one should play in the society. Guna Dharma. Then there is nimitya dharma, so acts following sins, means if you have done any kind of mistakes, if you have done a sin, then what are the things that should go for a punishment for you? So those are nimitya dharma. And then there is sadharan dharma, means universal duties like ahimsa and satya. So you should always speak truth, you should not harm anyone. These are sadharana dharma. So we have learned that there are 6 types of dharmas, and I have discussed in detail about what those 6 types of dharma actually mean. Then what is Varna? Varna and role in society. So Varna defines individuals' relationship with society, prescribing duties, rights, and obligations. So your Varna is your duty towards the people, how you should interact with the people, and according to your Varna you will be prescribed certain duties, you will have certain rights, and there will be certain things or obligations which you must do towards other people. So thus Varna means role in society. Ashrama, so stages of life. So just like our life is separated into various stages like student life, then family life, then retirement life, similarly ashramas are stages of life. So ashram outlines the spiritual stages an individual should pass through. So in life it cannot be differentiated with spirituality. According to the Sanatana theory, life should not be differentiated with spirituality. There is spirituality in your life, so there will be different stages of spirituality in the life, and those stages are denoted by the ashramas. Then there will be 4 purusharthas, means 4 aims in life. Here purushartha does not mean male, it does not mean that only men should follow this. No, 4 purusharthas means 4 aims in life, both for men and women. So there will be dharma, which means righteousness. Dharma does not mean religion. Get this into your head. Britishers have loosely translated the word religion into dharma, but dharma does not mean religion. Dharma means more or less righteousness. Then there will be artha, means wealth. Kama means desire. Kama does not mean sexual interest. Many people have this misconception. But kama actually means desire. It can be desire for anything. And then there is moksha, where you become one with the supreme. That is called as liberation. Three types of dukkha means suffering. So there are three types of suffering according to the Hindu view of life. What is that? Adhyatmika. Adhyatmika means mental suffering. Then there is adhibhautika, which means natural. So adhibhautika means natural suffering. Then there is adhaivika, adhidhaivika, which means fate, means your luck. So there are three types of suffering. One is adhyatmika, which means mental suffering. The second is adhibhautika, which means natural suffering. And then there is adhidhaivika, which means suffering based on your fate or luck. Then there is sumam bonam, which means liberation. So liberation from dukkha and rebirth, which means anavriti. So anavriti means rebirth, and dukkha means suffering. So when you are free from rebirth and dukkha, which means suffering, then you get moksha, which is liberation. And that is the ultimate goal of one's life. So Patanjali's Yoga Sutra promotes yoga to escape this cycle. So to escape this cycle of birth, suffering, rebirth, you should do yoga, and that has been said by Patanjali's Yoga Sutra. I have mentioned the volumes and chapters of the sources, so please go through it if you need any kind of verification. Then there is Chandogya Upanishad and Kalidas. So Chandogya Upanishad says that he does not return again. And Kalidas ends Avigyana Sakuntalam with a similar prayer to Shiva, which means the person or the soul has attained moksha. According to Hindu view of life, soul is eternal, soul never dies, and it manifests itself in every birth in certain bodies. So according to the Somnam Vomam, it is said that once you are free from dukkha and once you are free from rebirth, you can attain moksha. And thus Chandogya Upanishad says that he does not return again, means he have become liberated. He has attained to be one with the ultimate power. So that was all about Varna and Ashrama. Now we will discuss Moksha, Karma, and role of the Dharma Shastras. So what is Moksha, what is Karma, and what is the role of Dharma Shastra? So attaining Moksha. Moksha is rare, attainable only after many rebirths. Present life must prepare one for a better rebirth or liberation. So once you are trying to attain moksha, it is very rare and it can happen only after your soul manifests itself in different bodies. And so in present life you must prepare with good works so that you get a better life in the next manifestation of your soul. Karma and rebirth. So one's current life is shaped by previous births. According to Hindu philosophy, the current life that you are leading, whether it is good or bad, it is the result of what you have done in your previous birth. Family, parents, and circumstances are results of past karma. Karma means the actions, your deeds in your life. So what you have done in your previous birth has resulted in what kind of family, parents, and circumstances you are getting in your present life. Then role of Varna and Ashrama. In Hindu view, Varna and Ashrama guide one's path to moksha. through assigned duties. So according to Varna, you will have few roles, and according to the stages of life, that is Ashrama, you will be entitled to certain works. So together, Varna and Ashrama will guide you towards attaining moksha or liberation, or to be one with the Supreme. Then there will be four ashramas, four stages of life. So life is divided into four stages with distinct spiritual duties as laid down in the dharma shastra. So there will be four stages of life, and in those four stages there will be different kinds of spiritual duties, and all these have been said in the dharma shastras. Duties according to Varna and Ashrama. So each Varna and Ashrama has specific duties and obligations to be followed rigorously. So according to Dharma Shastra, each Varna and the stages of life in those Varna have certain things which they should do, and those should be followed rigorously. Sources of regulation. Dharma Shastras and texts like Mahabharata and Puranas prescribe rules for Varna and Ashrama. So there will be Dharma Shastras, and then there will be texts like Mahabharata and Puranas. And all these texts together provide the rules for different Varnas and different stages of life in those Varnas. Introduction to the caste system. So how was the caste system in ancient period? Hindu caste system, a unique institution. The most defining feature of Hindu society is its caste system, which has evolved far more rigorously than similar systems in ancient Persia, Rome, or Japan, where caste distinction eventually disappeared. So, in all other ancient civilizations, caste system was there, but Hindus have continued the caste system, and over time it had evolved into something which is a fixed institution. Caste system was not fixed in the beginning. It was based on one's occupation, but later on it has evolved more rigorously, where other civilization have totally disappeared their caste based distinctions. Indians or the Hindu caste system, we still continue it. Persistence and complexity. In India, castes and subcastes proliferated to a bewildering extent and continue to exist even today. So, different castes are there, and among those castes, different subcastes are there. So, there are different rules for every caste and subcaste, and these systems exist even today. Scholarly interest and literature. The complexity of this system has attracted scholarly attention. Extensive literature exists covering its origins, functions, and transformations. So many scholars have done deep research in this caste system. Many are still doing, and every time new researches are being done, new information comes out. So this is an evolving phenomenon and an evolving discipline in academics. So, extensive literature exists based on the origins, functions, and how caste transformed from one form to another. So, there are a lot of sources, direct and indirect sources, and there are a lot of scholars who have studied this caste system through thousands of years. Challenges in explaining origins. The origin of this caste system is unknown. The development is obscure, and its modifications are very frequent. So we don't know how it originated for sure, and how it developed on based on what did the caste system evolve, and how frequent were the modifications. We don't know any of this surely. So even during the so-called Vedic period, we don't have a concrete idea of how the caste system originated and evolved. So, meaning of caste today. The term caste also includes subcastes which possess the same defining traits as main caste. So, this term caste includes the subcaste within it also, and they have that caste and subcaste together, they have the same defining traits as the main caste. Reference to Vedic literature. Authoritative views can be found in index under terms like Varna, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Sudra. So these are the terms which describe many things about the caste system. There is no specific one source, one or a series of books which give information about caste system. Caste system is a continuously evolving phenomenon. So every kind of ancient history sources give some relevant information about the caste system in Hinduism. Then there is internal division and modern observations on caste. What are the internal divisions and what are the modern observations regarding caste? So there are many internal divisions among different varnas. Even within Brahmanas, there are regional and sectarian splits, such as Samarthas and Vaishnavas of South India. So, South India, there is a section of Brahmins who are called Samarthas and Vaishnavas. Then there is Chitpavan and Gauda Sarasvata in Maharashtra. So, Chitpavan and Gauda Sarasvata in Maharashtra are famous sects of Brahmins. And then there are Nagaras and Vargavas in Gujarat. So, according to region, there have been different classifications of subcastes. So, there are a lot of divisions among the different castes which have been allocated in the Hindu society. Vaniks, Shudras, and subcastes. So Vaishyas are often called by professions like Gandhavanik. Gandhavanik means perfume trader. So one who trades perfume is called Gandhavanik. Then Shudras include Kaivatyas, weavers, potters. Subcaste among Sudras number in thousands. So according to occupation, different subcastes have been made within a single caste, just like we have Gandhavanik, which means perfume trader. So according to what one did, their internal castes have been divided. Social functions and restrictions. Certain brahmanas are called upon for rituals like shraddha, but shunned in social life, showing layered exclusion within the same caste. So, within the same caste, everyone is not supposed to do everything. Certain brahmanas are there who will perform only marriage rituals. Certain brahmanas are there who will perform only cremation rituals. Certain brahmanas will be there who will perform only funerary rituals. So there are differences. So for example, a brahman which will perform shraddha will not do anything else in ritualistic sphere. So thus there was a layered exclusion within the same caste. Western scholars' observations. So, some of the Western scholars noted beneficent aspects, but Swami Vivekananda condemned caste ridden society as a lunatic asylum. He did not condemn. Now, when I say that Swami Vivekananda condemned caste ridden society as lunatic asylum, he did not mean the caste system which was there during early Vedic time. He meant the modern caste system, which is full of differences and rigidity. So that he termed as a lunatic asylum. But the ancient caste system during early Vedic period, that was purely based on occupation and was flexible. So that is to be taken into account when you are discussing about Swami Vivekananda's view on caste system. This was his view on the modern rigid caste system, not on the early Vedic caste system. So, caste and modern politics. Earlier, caste benefits were economic, but today, caste also grants political opportunities to backward classes. So there today in today's society in India there are different quotas for the lower caste. So earlier caste based benefits were mainly economic, means on the financial sphere, but now caste based benefits happens while you are getting promotion in your job, also in government jobs, in the field of government education, everywhere there is reservation and caste based system. Turning of the wheel. Now Brahmanas advocate for abolition while Harijans seek empowerment through caste identity. So now the system has totally changed in many aspects, where Brahmanas call for abolition of caste and Harijans, or the lower class people, lower caste people, they seek for employment through their caste identity. Key characteristics of Hindu caste systems. Now, what are the main features of the Hindu caste system? So, caste is hereditary. One born to it cannot change the caste. According to the modern Hindu caste system, one who is born in a certain caste has no way to change it. Then there will be connubium, which means marriage. Endogamy is practiced. Even today, endogamy is favored, which means marrying within one's caste. And exogamy is maintained, means not marrying within the same gotra. Gotra is another division in the Hindu society, which is based on your parents' genealogical structure. So, marrying within gotra is not allowed, but but one should always marry within one's caste. So caste, one caste can also have many gotras. So within gotras you cannot marry, because this has a very good scientific explanation. If you read about bottleneck civilization, then you will understand why marrying within one's gotra is not at all allowed in Hinduism. For that, I will make a different video some other day. Then there is commensality. Commensality means food sharing is restricted within one's caste. So there will be no food sharing within one's caste. One must eat food cooked by their own caste. So people of one caste cannot eat food made by different other castes. And if you eat food from other food which has been made by people from other caste, then there will be problems. So that was commensality. Occupation. Each caste is associated with specific profession, often inherited and rigid. So one caste has one duty, or one occupation, or one profession, and that is often inherited and you cannot change that. So this is one of the bad feature of the caste system, which was brought in later, during the later Vedic period. This system was not there in the early Vedic period. One who is born as a Brahman can easily become a Kshatriya. One who is born as a Vaishya can easily become a Brahmin, according to the early Vedic caste system. But that changed and caste became inherited and rigid. So hierarchy. Brahmanas hold the highest status, Pankamas and outcasts are the lowest. Numerous intermediate castes exist. So Brahmanas are on the highest status in the society according to caste system, and then there are all the other lower castes, mainly the Kshatriyas, Vaishyas and Shudras. Then come the people who are not within the caste system, and they are considered as lowest. Numerous intermediate castes are there, which are broadly classified under Brahmins, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas or Sudras. So historical taboo practices. Earlier practices like caste marriages were later prohibited. So earlier there used to be cross caste marriage, but later it was prohibited. By 7th century AD, intercaste marriage became a taboo. So by 7th century AD, intercaste marriage was not at all seen to be a good thing. However, during early Vedic period, intercaste marriage was very much common. Social consequences. Brahmanas marrying non-Brahmanas were ostracized from family and community life. So if a Brahmin marries someone who is not a Brahmin, then that person will be totally out of family and community life. Then what are the origins of Varna and caste system? So how did Varna and caste system originate? So use of terms are there in many texts, like Jati is used in Pali texts and by Manu to mean caste. However, in Vedic age, Varna was used to denote caste. So Jati is more or less a recent term which has been used in Pali texts and in Manusmriti to mean caste, but previously during the Vedic period, Varna was the word used to denote caste. Meaning of Varna in Rig Veda. So in most, Rig Veda is the earliest text in Hinduism and one of the earliest texts in the world. So Rig Veda passages like Varna means color or light. Groups were distinguished as Aryanam Varnatham. So Aryam Varnam and Dasam Varnam. Indra is said to defeat the dark complexioned dasas. So according to Rig Veda, Varna, the word Varna actually means color or light. And there were different groups mentioned in Rig Veda like Aryam Varnam and Dasam Varnam. So Aryam Varnam were the superior Varnas and Dasam Varnam were the dark skinned Varnas. So Indra, according to a story in Rig Veda, Indra is said to have defeated the Dasas or the people with dark complexion. Then there was Asura Varna, uses Asuriam Varnam to indicate subdued enemies, linking Varna with complexion. So there was Asuriam Varnam, and that means the people who have been defeated, enemies who have been defeated and brought under the Varna system. So thus Varna was always linked with one's color. Dasas, Dasayus and Dasas in Rig Veda. So who are the people called as Dasayus and Dasas? So Rig Veda equates Dasayu with Dasa, portraying them as senseless and irreligious people outside the Vedic fold. So they are the people who did not follow the Vedic system, and so they have been termed as irreligious and senseless, because sense according to the Vedic times was based on religion. So one who does not follow any religion, that person is not having any sense. So they were the people outside the Vedic system. Social mobility and degradation. Harijans were denied access to upper castes. So Harijans or the lower caste, Harijan is a term given by Gandhiji much later during modern times. So Harijans were the lower caste people who were denied access to the areas where upper caste people lived. The Khorasa inscription of 1388 states that royal family of Makwana, originally Brahma Kshatri, became a sub caste. So that is because a Brahman married a Kshatriya and so they became a subcaste, which means that there was differentiation among the castes also. Within the caste, there was internal differences. Conquest and transformation in the Vedic text. So how was the conquest done and how did the Vedic text transform? So literal meaning of dasa. Dasa came to mean slave. Later on, this term dasa was used for the slaves and dasayu as robber. Rig Ved and Manu describe non-Vedic people as dasayus regardless of language or religion. So non-Vedic people, people who does not follow the Vedic system of the society, were termed as dasa and dasayus according to Rig Veda and Manusmriti. Arya and Dasa distinction. So how were the Aryas and Dasas distinguished? Dasa tribes were conquered by Aryas and enslaved. So this was a common theory from the Rig Veda and the ancient sources, that there were Dasa tribes and they were conquered by the Aryas. Aryas were tribes which supposedly came from outside, but today the genetic studies shows that Aryas were people from within the Indian subcontinent only. Sometimes they fought war with each other, and one section of the society may have been called Aryas, whereas other section may have been called Dasas. But Aryans did not come from outside. They were within the Indian subcontinent only, according to the latest genealogical researches being done in modern times. So Tattariya Samhita, Brahmana texts, and Manu portray Shudras as created for Dasya of Brahmanas. So all these texts, Tattariya Samhita, Brahmana texts, and Manusmriti says that Shudras are there only to serve the upper Varnas, mainly the Brahmanas. Then there will be Kautilya and Arya definitions. So Kautilya was during the Mauryan times. How did he define the caste system? So Kautilya contrast Arya means free man and Dasa means slave. So Aryas were owners and Dasas were servants of the owners. So Arya meant conquering people and Dasa the native. So Dasas were the local people and Aryas meant the higher class people who were dominant, who were dominating over the local people. Purusha Shukta. So there is a hymn in Rig Veda volume 10, or the 10th mandala of Rig Veda has the Purusha Shukta hymn, which gives a mythological origin of the different varnas. So Brahmana originated from mouth, Rajanya or the Kshatriyas originated from the arms, Vaishyas originated from the thighs, and Shudras originated from the feet, the earliest mythological basis of caste. So this is the earliest mythological basis of how different castes originated. Then there was symbolism of feet. So from this thing that Shudras originated from the feet of Brahma, we can understand that Shudras are placed lowest, forming the base, while other Varnas stem from different limbs, symbolizing hierarchy. So thus we get a status difference between different castes from the earliest mythological basis of caste, that is Purusha Shukta hymn of Rig Veda Mandala 10. Philosophical and textual interpretations of Varna. So how can we interpret Varna from different kinds of texts? So Vrihadharanyaka Upanishad interpretation. So Vrihadharanyaka says Brahma created Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya and then Sudra. So Vrihadharanyaka Upanishad mentions this very clearly, that Brahma created the four castes. At first he created the Brahmana, then Kshatriya, then Vaishya, and then at last he created Shudra. Shankara interprets this as establishing the four Varnas Brahma, Kshatriya with Sudra. So according to Shankara, this is how the four Varnas were established. And what were the four Varnas? Brahma, Kshatriya, with and Shudra. Status of Shudra in later texts. Later on, what happened to the status of Shudras? Shudras were part of the society, but they were degraded. As the society evolved, the position of Shudras fell down. Tattariya Samhita and Gita confirm the division by guna and karma. So by duties and karma, we get a differentiation, or we get to see how the Shudras fell in status from Tattariya Samhita and the Gita. Mahabharata's alternative view. Mahabharata verses differ from Purusha Shukta. So Mahabharata is the famous Indian epic, and the verses of Mahabharata is not only the famous Indian epic, it is the famous historical story or historical epic, you can say. So Mahabharata verses differ from Purusha Shukta, and it says that Vishnu and Krishna are assigned to Purusha. It equates Varna with color, rejecting inborn Varna. So Mahabharata rejects the rigidity of Varna and says that Varna is only according to color, not hereditary according to profession. Brahmana identity in Mahabharata. So Brahmana without Brahmana qualities is not a Brahmana. A Shudra without qualities is not a Shudra. So according to Mahabharata, caste system comes according to your quality. So if you are a good fighter, you will be a kshatriya. If you are good in academics, if you are a very good teacher, scientist, scholar, then you will become a brahmana. So a brahmin who does not have the qualities of a brahmin is not a brahmin according to Mahabharata. And similarly it goes for other castes like kshatriya, vaishya and sudra also. So role of Manu and Nirukta. Manu and Nirukta cite jati as derived from jan, means birth. So they termed caste system as jati, and according to them, according to Manu and Nirukta, jati system or caste system is based on birth. So Manu uses jati for caste while Varna remains broader. So Manu's view has been narrowed down based on birth only, while Varna is actually a very complicated term which sometimes is based on profession, sometimes is based on qualities, sometimes is also based on hereditary. Caste fragmentation. Though society is described as Chaturvarna, means there will be only four Varna. It has been described in religious texts that there will be only Chaturvarna or four Varna. It actually fragmented into thousands of jatis. So there were many subcastes because of marriage and different kinds of relationships. Many subcastes originated and they have been termed as jatis. So there are thousands of jatis. So in our next video, we are going to go deep into Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas and Shudras. So please carry on watching this series because this is going to be interesting. It is going to clarify a lot of doubts regarding the ancient religion of India, and it will give you a lot of insights, and there will be also numerous points of debate. If you think that I am going wrong anywhere, or if you think that you have a different opinion, then please feel free to post it in comments. We will be enriched by your knowledge. Thank you so much for your love and support. Keep following Dharma.